Yang and City the Song family's ancestral heart. Since that final bloody stand at the southern wall in his past life, Song Yongxiang had never set foot here again. Perched on Tiandu's jagged southeastern border, this fortress city guarded the Shishui frontier with Mount Yong'an towering like a silent titan behind it. Truly, it was a citadel carved from treacherous rock. For 2 decades, a fragile peace pact had bound Tiandu and Shishui together. Using the Great Southern Wall, they forged a massive steel line from the Shikong Peaks to the desolate wastelands. This impenetrable shield transformed Yong'an into a thriving, bustling hub of trade and life. Their escort, 2 Crimson Luan Army Skyguard behemoths, immediately peeled away to resume their patrol duties, once the merchant ship was safely docked. As Song Yongxiang stepped onto the harbor's cold floor, the shameless captain practically cornered him, begging for a mountain of autographs with the thirstiest excuses ever. Just as he stood there stunned, a familiar shadow appeared. "Young master, it has been far too long," Uncle Songmu whispered. Those simple words struck like a physical blow. Between his past life and now, an eternity had passed, since he last felt the warmth of family. To them, it was just months. To him, it was 60 grueling years of carrying their ghosts in his soul. In that dark timeline, the entire Song lineage was doomed to vanish in 2 months, slaughtered when the southern wall finally shattered. Back then, the old master had dragged him away from the carnage at the final second. By some miracle, during his desperate flight, he stumbled upon the elite black armor reinforcements. That was his only lifeline. Now, seeing them again, he felt like a lost child finally coming home. This was the heat of home. But wait, as they spoke, Song Yongxiang's sharp senses caught something off. Uncle Songmu was hiding his true power level. When he looked deeper, his breath hitched. He was a mid-stage heaven-rank titan. In his past life, Song Yongxiang was too clueless to notice. He was so pathetic then, thinking the old master was the only heaven-rank warrior in the family. Wrong. Who would have guessed his childhood caretaker, the man who basically raised him like a nanny, was actually a bigger beast than the old master himself? While the young master reeled, from the shock, Songmu turned his gaze toward Shen Ruwei and her kin. Before he could vouch for them, the Shen group bowed with perfect elegance, introducing themselves with grace. Hearing that name, Songmu's eyes sharpened. He knew exactly who they were, the prestigious Shens. Indeed, Shen Dai was the daughter of the great patriarch Shen Hua. She'd suspected his identity before, but seeing the Song family's hidden depth in the flesh left her absolutely floored. Their household steward alone was a monster compared to her own niece. Their foundations were terrifying. With no bad blood between them, Songmu graciously offered to prep a sky vessel and personally escort them home. But Shen Dai politely declined, explaining that her family's private driver was already waiting at the gates. Before departing, they showered Song Yongxiang with gratitude one last time and begged him to visit soon. Song Yongxiang just grinned, turning to little Xiaowen. "Did you memorize my number yet?" he teased. He promised the little girl that whenever she missed him, one call would get her a legendary feast on his tab. Xiaowen's eyes literally sparkled. Classic treats and games are the ultimate cheat code for kids. But this kid was sharp. She countered with a condition next time she visited. Her gorgeous cousin Shen Ruwei had to come too. Ruwei's face turned beet red instantly. He didn't mind as long as the kid was happy. Besides, in his past life, he'd vowed to be her ultimate Star Soul master. After some final farewells, the two groups split up. In this world of chaos, who knew when their paths would cross again? He could only pray they'd stay safe. But as he and Uncle Songmu turned toward the inner docks, a voice cut through the air. Miss Jinghua came rushing toward them. Her face was pale. This was clearly a life-or-death emergency. Without wasting a second, she reached him and pressed a secret note into his palm. "Read this," she urged. She'd be chilling in Yang'an for 2 weeks. If his schedule cleared up, she wanted a proper face-to-face. Time for a deep dive. Then she vanished into the crowd, leaving Song Yongxiang totally lost in thought. What was her real angle? Before he could crack the code, Uncle Songmu's voice snapped him back. "The old master's hosting a feast tonight. Your fiancé Kong Jingshin is the guest of honor." Hearing that name, pure rage ignited. In his past life, fresh from the desert of death, that woman had ambushed him. She'd brought a heaven-rank heavy hitter just to trash their engagement. Tonight's banquet was about to be war. All those toxic relatives who treated him like trash, it was time to show them who's the boss. They hit the landing pad where Xia Biji, the Eastern Courtyard's personal driver, was already posted up. He was waiting like clockwork. The second they boarded the skyship, Biji dropped a bombshell. He asked if Song's Earth rank ascension finally fixed his crippled soul vein. Hearing that, Songmu's expression went stone cold. He wasn't playing around anymore. Eyes on the sky, Biji. No more talk. Song Yangxiang's eyebrows shot up. This vibe was definitely suspicious. His family's secrets ran deeper than an abyss. Even the chauffeur was a mid-tier heaven-rank monster. Songmu obviously knew the truth. This homecoming was shaping up to be one hell of a ride. Things were getting spicy. During the flight, Song tasked Mu with hunting down those two mysterious figures. Their random arrival in Yang'an felt way too calculated. Something definitely wasn't adding up. Mew passed over the compensation storage card and broke down the current power struggle. The lower domain is a mess of 6 noble tribes, locked in a brutal 3-way power struggle. The Sumerians lead the tech-savvy, cautious faction. Meanwhile, the Mulu family commands the war-hungry expansionists. They own the military. Lastly, the Sukim family runs the neutral faction, pulling strings in the political shadows. But don't be fooled, they're all just puppets for the legendary restorationists. Those guys are ghosts of a fallen empire from over 400 years in the past. Post-collapse, they spat on Milo's rule and Tiandu's throne. They bow to no one. The Huoyan clan is their ultimate weapon. For ages, they've dreamed of rebuilding their lost, unified glory. Technically, they aren't even lower domain locals. They're just tragic exiles yearning for a home they lost. They gaze at the central plains, forever locked out of their motherland. With the lore lesson finished, Mew spotted Miss Jinghua's secret note and pivoted back to Song's beloved fiancé Kong Jingxin. The moment her name was mentioned, Song felt a massive wave of annoyance hit him. Things hadn't gone nuclear yet, so he just played it cool and brushed the topic aside. He wondered, were the lower domain and Milo nations secretly teaming up against Tiandu? Would they really squeeze Tiandu from both sides? Mu didn't buy it for a second. Unlikely. Mew scoffed. That move would wreck the bottom line for both the cautious and neutral tribes. As long as those Sumerian and Sukim ancient powerhouses are breathing, it's a non-starter. It was pure fantasy. Just as their chat ended, the skyship descended toward the eastern compound. They touched down at the Wan Marquis estate. Near the gates, a group of guards were gambling. They were busy with cards, looking like they'd just lost their entire month's paycheck. But when they saw Xia Biji personally escorting Song Yangsheng, they panicked. They hid the cards fast, terrified Song would trap them in another marathon gambling session. Clearly, Song's reputation as a degenerate was still very much alive and well. Then Mao San, a crippled guard, stood from his wheelchair with a wide-eyed grin to say hello. The old troll couldn't resist a jab, asking if he'd finally brought home a wife. Song just shook his hand, but as their skin touched, he felt something terrifying. Underneath that goofy exterior, Mao San was another secret mid-tier heaven-rank beast. Mao chuckled, asking if he wanted to gamble or go face the old Marquis first. But before Song could decide, Uncle Mu dragged him toward the main hall. No more games. The old Marquis was already lurking in the courtyard the instant the intel dropped. Uncle Ma looked like a total wreck, probably nursing a brutal gambling losing streak. Yangsheng promised a rematch soon, and the old rascal's face instantly lit up. He vowed that when the time came, he'd host Yangsheng's favorite premium VIP outing. He even teased that the local elite pavilions had just restocked their finest selection. He'd been camping for Yangsheng's return, but the others just ignored his thirsty rambling. Yangsheng simply announced his departure and dipped with Song Mu before anyone could react. Xiaojie strolled over, throwing shade at old Ma for being a broken-down relic. But beneath the jokes, he was there to drop a bombshell about Yangsheng's growth. He'd officially hit Earth rank. Ma's goofy grin vanished into a rare, sharp focus. He'd already sensed that surge, and knew Yangsheng had been low-key testing his limits. One was a driver, the other a guard, so how were they, both this terrifyingly cracked? To Yangsheng, Uncle Ma was just the quirky gatekeeper of the Eastern Wing. They'd been tight since childhood because the man was such a chaotic entertainer. Ma taught him the dark arts, card counting, gambling scams, and even master-level lockpicking. Those were the survival skills he'd mastered. Who knew this lowly guard was faking? Behind that weak facade hid a mid-stage heaven-rank monster waiting for the reveal. He and Song Mu reached the Marquis, who instantly closed the distance to flex. He praised his power before dragging Yangsheng to the study for a private briefing. He was starving for the details of every battle Yangsheng had survived this year. Even from one glance, Yangsheng realized the old master's aura was on another level. He wasn't just strong, he had reached the pinnacle of the half-saint level. He was suppressing his true rank, but that crushing pressure was impossible to miss. He might even be more cracked than Elder Zhu. In his past life, Yangsheng was blind, but now that the veil was lifted, the truth was terrifying. The Song family was stacked. They held more secret trump cards than he ever dreamed, which was exactly why he panicked. If a half-saint and 3 heaven-ranked titans couldn't stop the original beast tide, then all his current grinding might still be nowhere near enough to survive. Suddenly, his senses picked up a trace of genuine saint-rank power nearby. It was incredibly faint, like a flickering candle, but his instincts were screaming. Is there a secret saint hiding in the shadows? And if there is, what kind of legendary Star Soul general is backing a powerhouse like that? The more hidden layers he found, the more he realized his current plan was lacking. There was only one way forward. He had to force everyone into sainthood immediately. They sat for a game of Go, and the old master smirked within minutes. He warned he wouldn't go easy next time, noticing Yangsheng's tactical mind had evolved. His board game IQ had spiked right alongside his martial power. Yangsheng was floored. He was only using 30% of his brain, yet the old man still read him. Once the game was a lost cause, the master ordered Song Mu to clear the room. He locked the doors tight. That signaled the start of a dead serious conversation. This was the real deal. He wouldn't send his right hand away for anything less. The master forced him to review their match, analyzing every move they'd just made. Yang Shang caught on fast. The old man feared eavesdroppers and was talking in code. Yang Shang took the lead, asking if the reports from Yunding City had finally arrived. As expected, the old master confirmed he was already fully briefed on the situation. Word of song, Yongzhang mending his crippled soul veins spread like wildfire. Now hosting the legendary Juosi Yongzhang, knew the truth was too insane to share. Claiming he returned from 60 years in the future would sound like a total delusion. Instead, he decided to spin a tale about stumbling into a hidden secret realm. He would claim an ancient illusion showed him visions of the next 6 decades. With his cover story ready, Yongzhang spoke of a miraculous, life-changing opportunity. He mentioned finding an ultra-ancient realm, but he barely finished his sentence. Raising a hand, the old master silenced him, pointing to a blunder on the board. Referencing their previous match, the old man grinned and slid a chess piece across. He shifted it to a wild new position, leaving Yongzhang completely baffled at first. No matter the angle, that single move couldn't save his crumbling losing formation. After Yongzhang reset it, the master noted that lost games allow for careful review. As long as the pieces stay put, the board tells its story. But then, everything changes if a single piece suddenly decides to leap off the board entirely. If that piece becomes the player, instead the entire game transforms into something new. Those words hit like a lightning strike. Yongzhang realized the piece was him. Did the old master actually know he was a regressor? Meanwhile, tension was rising. Over at the City Lord Manor Song, Yongzhang's fiancée Kong Jingxin was fuming. She was locked in a brutal shouting match with her father over their marriage alliance. Kong Fan refused to break the contract, knowing the weight of their family debt. If Song Lang hadn't saved them years ago, the Kongs would be absolute nobodies today. Plus, rumors of Yongzhang heroics in Yuanding City had already reached his ears. He was certain this marriage was their golden ticket. That night, they prepared for battle. They were set to attend the song banquet, but Jingxin just scoffed at him. Dismissively, she claimed her dear brother Sun Xia was 10 times stronger than him. Kong Fan exploded in rage. How could a street rat orphan ever compare to them? Jingxin ignored him, her eyes shining with admiration for her precious Sun Xia. To her, his 2.5 years of training and gang leadership were legendary. Sun Xia even promised her he would soon host the star general Zhao Ren. She believed Yongzhang and his general Zhuo Shi could never match Sun Xia grit. Suddenly, a voice of cold approval echoed from the balcony, startling the entire room. It was the Kong family old master who had just reached early-stage heaven rank. Dripping with newfound arrogance, he declared the songs were trash, and the wedding was off. Hearing that their patriarch had smashed through the heaven rank bottleneck left them speechless. Overjoyed, they rushed to congratulate him before asking the one question that truly mattered. Compared to Song Jingzong, who is the real powerhouse now, the old man smirked. Without a shred of shame, he claimed Jingzong had been stagnant for years. Even though he just leveled up, he was confident he could crush the Song family. With her grandfather backing her, Jing Xin became even more reckless and toxic. She declared that if the Songs refused to cancel, she would beat them into submission. Even her father Kong Fan winced at how savage and disrespectful her words were. Despite their decline, the Songs were still a top-tier house with a massive legacy. Tearing them down so publicly was risky, but Old Master Kong Jian didn't care. He fully supported his granddaughter's choice to dump her fiancé for good. In his twisted eyes, Sun Xia was the only man worthy of his precious granddaughter. This would only grant the Kongs a few decades of fleeting stability, but if they secured the future Star Soul host, if General Zhao Ren were to marry into their bloodline instead, the entire power dynamic would shift. Forget a century of mere wealth, they would finally possess the strength to reclaim their seat in the Kong mainline. They'd return to their roots in Zhongzhou. With Kong Zheng finally ascending to the prestigious heaven rank, he felt the Kong family had finally achieved total parity with the legendary Song clan. If they could recruit a stray, like Sun Xia, force him into the family, and invest everything into his growth, the Kongs would eventually ground the Song family into the dust. The air grew heavy with ambition the moment he spoke. Even Kong Fan realized the staggering potential of this plan, a strategy he had never even dared to imagine. Old Master Kong immediately interrogated his granddaughter, demanding to know if she could truly guarantee that Sun Xia was destined to become Xiao Rin's vessel. He leaned in, his gaze piercing as he pushed for answers. He questioned if the boy would truly submit to their family. Kong Jingxin responded with unshakable confidence. She swore her beloved Sun Xia was incapable of deception. As for the marriage, that was already a certainty. The two had already crossed the ultimate line of intimacy, binding their fates together long ago. Hearing this, the old master roared with laughter. He was ready to march straight to the song gates and shatter the engagement immediately. However, the father and daughter soon realized they needed a flawless excuse to officially sever the tie. They originally planned to exploit Song Yangxiang's crippled soul veins, but that leverage was now worthless. Yet the old master's arrogance flared as he declared they needed no excuse at all. Now a heaven-rank powerhouse, he believed the law of the fist was the only logic that mattered. If Song Jingjong dared to protest, he was fully prepared to spill blood on the spot. His hidden ace was the 3-star strengthening pill that Song Yangzheng had previously traded to the merchants. Meanwhile, back at the Song estate, the old master dropped a bombshell. A mere chess piece had become a player. Song Yangxiang stiffened. He knew the old man had sensed the shifting tides of his hidden destiny. The old master casually remarked that he simply intended to undo one single move, nothing more. He signaled for the boy to finish his tale of the secret realm, leaving Yangxiang spiraling in confusion. What game was this old fox playing? To survive the interrogation, he had to keep the narrative flowing. He began to weave a more cinematic version of events, claiming he had discovered an ancient forbidden sanctuary. Within that realm, a mystic illusion revealed the future. He saw that in exactly 1 month, the southern wasteland would be swallowed by an unprecedented beast tide of apocalyptic proportions. That was the true catalyst for his desperate homecoming. In that vision, he witnessed a horrifying slaughter. He saw every last Song soldier wiped out in the carnage. They had to mobilize now to prevent total extinction. After Yangon City was devoured, the tide would surge north, dealing a lethal blow to the nation's defenses. TND Nation's military would be shattered, leaving their borders wide open for the ultimate invasion. Milan Nation would seize the chaos, igniting a final world-ending conflict at TND City. The aftermath would send Song Yangxiang into a brutal exile, drifting all the way to Shishui Nation. There, he would eventually find sanctuary under the protection of the Empress herself. He bared it all. He recounted the full 60 years of blood, sweat, and survival that defined his past life struggle. Outside the study, Uncle Song Mu stood like an immovable statue guarding the door without flinching. 2 grueling hours passed. Still, there was no sign of the old marquis or the young master. Instead, the silence was shattered by the frantic, trembling voice of Song Jin, the central steward. Jin arrived in a blind panic, his face pale, as he demanded an audience with the old marquis immediately. "Is he still inside?" he gasped. He carried an urgent report that could not wait a single second. Seeing the steward so visibly shaken, Song Mu's brow furrowed. What crisis could possibly cause such terror? Old Jin lowered his voice, whispering with extreme caution. The secret was too dangerous for wandering ears. That person's condition had taken a devastating turn for the worse. The mystery was buried deep. The secrecy within the Song family was so absolute that even a veteran like Song Mu was left in the dark. Just as old Jin reached for the study door, Uncle Song Mu's hand shot out, blocking his path. He knew this secret meeting was absolutely vital and non-negotiable. No one was permitted to break the tension. Inside, Young Sheng's tale reached its climax. He recounted the northern continent's final stand, where humanity's last bastions chose annihilation to shield their dying bloodline. Witnessing that apocalypse was the moment. He finally snapped from the illusion, yet the memories felt hauntingly absurd to him. He couldn't tell if it was just a fever dream within a trap, or if he'd truly regressed 60 years from the future. The old master suddenly whispered, 60 years. She never mentioned it would take this long. Dread washed over young Sheng. Who was this mysterious she? And what did the patriarch's cryptic words really mean? Suddenly, the old master questioned him, could the Star-Lord system truly replicate another host's sole general? Hearing young Shang could copy powers, he realized this was the double insurance his daughter-in-law once spoke of. Young Shang stopped hiding the truth and confessed everything. That's why New Landing City mistook him for Zuo Ci's host, even though he actually possessed Zuo Ci's soul jade. In this world of betrayal, the old master was the only one he could trust. After the confession, the old master gave a chilling warning, never speak of the Star-Lord system again. He had to play the role of Zuo Ci's host and keep the system buried. Young Shang agreed. Secrecy was survival. In his past life, he hadn't realized the danger only copying his first general. 3 years later, so he'd never treated it as an emergency. With a heavy tone, the old master declared it was time to hand over a certain. It was a legacy left by young Shang's mother. Everything the old master knew came from her. She had actually foretold that one day, young Shang would suddenly become a powerhouse. His soul veins would heal and he'd claim to have traveled through time. Young Shang's soul shook to its core. Was his own mother a regressor? How else could she see the future? The old master continued, saying she'd warned him not to be shocked when this day came, and to believe every insane word young Shang said. Then he was to deliver a box to his grandson. Her final message was chilling. Humanity cannot defy time's laws. Beneath the star web, we are all part of the game. Young Shang froze. She knew about the star web knowledge that didn't belong in this era. Just who was his mother? The old master admitted his failed attempts to decode her mystery through that earlier board review, but even after decades, the meaning eluded him. Now young Shang had to solve the puzzle himself. Suddenly, a violent surge of soul power exploded from the central courtyard, but as fast as it erupted, the energy began to wither at an alarming rate. Both men felt the shift instantly, without another word. The old master kicked open the door, sprinting toward the courtyard with young Shang following. Steward Jin intercepted them, shouting urgently, his condition has taken a turn for the worst. While rushing young Shang, probed Jin's power, a peak black rank expert. The mystery deepened. Was the eastern courtyard the only thing truly unusual in the Song family? He had to find out now. Steward Jin was utterly baffled. To him, Yang Shang was just a talentless, crippled young master. But the patriarch calmly declared the boy was finally worthy to witness the Song family's deepest, most ancient secrets. Soon they reached a secluded elevator deep within the central courtyard, a path supposedly leading only to training rooms. Yang Shang remembered it well. Was this just a cultivation chamber, or did a hidden world lie beneath? As the doors slid open, a shocking subterranean truth was finally revealed. A massive hidden paradise stretched below a secret world concealed from the surface. This realm used advanced lighting and was reinforced by high-level ancient arrays, designed to mask soul power. This alone proved the family's insane foundation. Reaching the villa, Grandpa ordered his top guards to wait outside, while he led Yang Shang into the inner sanctum personally. Inside, Yang Shang realized these extreme measures were for one purpose: keeping a mysterious elder alive. The man's identity was shrouded in intrigue. The answer came instantly. Grandpa approached the bed, calling him third uncle. This man was Yang Shang's great uncle, the source of that saint-rank pressure. But a terrifying question emerged in Yang Shang's mind. In his previous life, he had never heard of this legendary powerhouse. As a saint-rank master, he had to be an Origin Star Soul host. What tragedy erased such a legend from history in the previous timeline? Third great uncle's eyes flickered open. His voice was frail, yet steady. He delivered a grim prophecy. His life force was almost entirely extinguished, leaving him with barely 30 days. Then Grandpa introduced Yang Shang. It was their first meeting, but the elder already knew his history. He spoke of the boy's parents and his supposedly broken soul veins. But as Yang Shang bowed, the elder's sharp gaze pierced his disguise, detecting his earth-rank strength and fully restored soul veins instantly. Facing a legendary host, Yang Shang immediately summoned the Star-Lord system to copy the man's power. Strangely, the system remained completely unresponsive. No error, no failure, just dead silence. Yang Shang's heart sank in confusion. Why was his trump card failing him now? This was totally unprecedented. Suddenly, the elder's condition spiraled. Destructive saint-rank energy surged outward, creating a pressure wave that would crush any ordinary human instantly. Grandpa moved like lightning, shielding Yang Shang from the devastating impact. Fortunately, Yang Shang had survived worse in his previous life's bloody battles. He stood his ground, unflinching against the storm of soul power. This composure left Grandpa absolutely stunned and filled with pride. He never imagined a saint's aura would fail to injure the boy. After all, even the patriarch himself felt the crushing weight of that pressure. Finally, the elder regained control, pulling the rampaging energy back inside. His body was failing, leaking power like a shattered leather vessel. Once stabilized, he wondered why Yang Shang remained unfazed by his aura. Then he smirked. It made sense. He was the son of those two. He was the family's true focus, and Grandpa didn't hesitate to confirm. The patriarch didn't deny it. He openly confirmed the boy's importance. He then revealed a game-changing secret to third uncle regarding the massive opportunity he'd seized. Deep within a primordial secret realm, he'd glimpsed a dark future where the southern wasteland's beast tide would completely obliterate Yangon City in mere weeks. Upon hearing this grim prophecy, third uncle's face twisted in dread. He urgently asked if the Song family could survive such an apocalypse. Facing the elder's gaze, Yang Shang stopped sugarcoating things and confessed that in his first life, every single member of the Song family died as martyrs. This chilling answer left both elders paralyzed. The thought of their lineage ending so tragically was unbearable. With a heavy heart, the old master spoke, declaring they had to prepare immediately, regardless of whether this vision was set in stone. It was finally time for Yang Shang to inherit the clan's most guarded ancient secrets. With death knocking at his door, third uncle resolved to personally unveil the truth to Yang Shang. His name was Song Bing Chuan, once a legendary pillar among Tiandu Nation's 8 great generals. He also served as the 8th-generation vessel for the Star Soul General, Cao Ren. Since Yang Shang had never encountered third uncle in his original timeline, this revelation hit him like a truck. His family had been harboring the Star Soul General, Cao Ren, all along. Yang Shang was reeling, but a deeper mystery confused him even more. His Star-Lord system was completely unable to replicate or copy third uncle's Star Soul General. This defied everything he knew about his powers. Third, uncle merely offered a calm explanation. His life force would be totally extinguished within a month anyway. That's why Yang Shang never saw him in that doomed future. In the original apocalypse, Yang Shang remembered, The man who eventually inherited Cao Ren was a youth named Sun Xia. Third uncle sighed in resignation. Once his breath ceased, Cao Ren would naturally leave his body to seek a new vessel. The old master quickly interjected, mentioning legendary rumors he'd heard about lifespan-extending pills from the southern continent. If they could secure just one, he'd gladly trade the entire Song family fortune to save him. Suddenly, a hidden memory ignited in Yongxiang's mind. The 7-star life-extending pill could grant 3 to 5 more years. An 8-star version offered up to a decade, while the mythic 9-star longevity pill could grant 30 whole years. The moment he spoke, the old master's eyes blazed with hope. He wondered if Yongxiang could leverage the second prince's influence to obtain such treasures, since Yongxiang was his literal savior. However, Yongxiang shook his head. They didn't need outside help because he could refine those legendary pills himself. The old master was ecstatic, yet skepticism lingered. It seemed impossible that Yongxiang had mastered the divine art of alchemy as well. Yongxiang just offered a reassuring pat and told him to relax. While 8 and 9-star pills were a reach for now, he had absolute ironclad confidence in crafting a 7-star life-extending pill. But talk is cheap. The old master's true concern was the success rate. After all, even royal alchemists struggled with 6-star pills, and their success rates were pathetic. To silence those doubts, Yongxiang produced the pills he had forged earlier. Aboard the airship, the sheer energy radiating from the storage card left third uncle speechless. He felt it pills surpassing the 7-star rank. He was looking at the 8-star heavenly spirit pill Yongxiang had crafted during his journey home. One dose would permanently skyrocket a person's cultivation by an entire minor realm. Yongxiang had specially prepared this gift for the old master. Since the timing was perfect, he presented it right then and there. Whether it could still aid a peak heaven rank expert was for the old master to discover. In that instant, every ounce of doubt vanished from the old master's mind. He proclaimed right then and there, Song Yongxiang now wielded absolute authority equal to the patriarch himself. Every Song clansman must obey his command. In exchange, the patriarch had one condition: Yongxiang must concoct a legendary life-extending pill. This was for the third great uncle's sake, yet Yongxiang stayed calm. He needed to diagnose the elder's shattered physique first. If hidden ailments lurked, he'd rather eradicate every single one in one fell swoop. As Yongxiang reached for his pulse, the elder abruptly offered his left hand instead, revealing a shocking secret. His right arm was merely a high-tech, bionic limb. He'd barely escaped death during that catastrophic Great War years ago. Half his body had been obliterated, a tragedy that allowed him to vanish and linger like a ghost beneath the family manor. Suddenly, everything clicked for Yongxiang. It explained why the Star-Lord system hadn't triggered a single notification until now. He'd missed the obvious, but a new mystery emerged. That prosthetic. It wasn't ordinary technology at all. This wasn't modern gear. It looked like a relic of an ancient civilization unearthed from some long-forgotten forbidden ruin. The moment Yongxiang's skin touched the elder's left hand, the Star-Lord system finally roared to life with a prompt. It was scanning the data of the target's Star Soul General. Then the real synchronization started. The system began duplicating the Star Soul General, Cao Ren, but right at the finish line, a crimson error warning flashed. 7% of the data was corrupted and undergoing repair. Yongxiang sensed the cause immediately. The elder's shattered physique was the culprit. Even his secondary soul veins were tattered and incomplete, barely holding on. Sensing the damage, Yongxiang asked point-blank if the elder's cultivation had been frozen in time for decades. Ever since that fatal wound, his progress had stalled. Not only was he unable to break through, but he was forced to devour mountains of pills just to keep his current power level from collapsing entirely. It was a desperate struggle to slow his inevitable decline. At that moment, Yongxiang understood the full picture. He had diagnosed the problem. Now he needed to hunt down the rare ingredients for that life-saving elixir. As for regenerating the elder's missing limbs and organs, that was a divine challenge for another day. He would tackle that impossible feat step by step. But when Yongxiang mentioned regenerating flesh, the elder's mind was blown. He never dared to dream that such a miracle was even possible. Regrowing a shattered body sounded like pure madness. But for now, they had more pressing matters to attend to. Yongxiang presented a 5-star spring-returning pill. While it couldn't grant immortality, it was a vital start. It would finally soothe the agonizing pain racking his broken frame. Before Yongxiang departed, the patriarch urged him to act with lightning speed. The entire Song clan would serve as his invincible shield. They would give him everything. Stepping into the elevator, Yongxiang finally had a moment to breathe. As he ascended to the surface, he began processing the wild events that had just unfolded. The Star-Lord system was still buzzing with warnings. Danger and opportunity were now intertwined. The Star Soul General's data was severely compromised. However, the system provided a silver lining. It was pinpointing the glitches and reconstructing the lost files in real time. The countdown to power had begun. 1,452,980 seconds remained until Tao Ren was truly his. While Yongxiang was busy making deals with the elders, a storm was brewing among the maids. The Eastern Courtyard staff were in a total frenzy. After all, today was the return of the legend himself. Their notorious playboy master was back. Li Ying, his personal maid, had been working herself to the bone. Watching her scrub frantically, Song Lan couldn't resist bringing up the young master's questionable past. He used to be such a bully, yet Li Ying didn't seem to mind the hard work one bit. She scolded Song Lan for the slander, a faint, shy blush dusting her cheeks as she spoke. Li Ying had even prepared his favorite incense. Song Lan was baffled. How could she be so devoted? Why fall for a total loser? But the moment Song Lan called him trash, Li Ying snapped. She fired back that Master Yongxiang was no longer a cripple. His cultivation was now undeniable. Love really is blind. Even if he could cultivate, Song Lan still saw him as a total menace. To her, he was just a shameless pervert. That insult sent Li Ying's temper through the roof. As they moved to the main hall, Song Lan continued her relentless teasing about their dear young master. He had once finessed Liani and Zisu into a shared bath. By that point, even Qing Dai, the East Courtyard's head maid, reached her limit and lashed out. She barked that work hours weren't for playing around, especially with the young master returning. But those words bounced right off Zisu. She was already buzzing with pure anticipation. She kept yapping about how she couldn't wait to feast alongside the young master again. Qing Dai had already clocked Zisu's slacking. Yet, even after a verbal smackdown, Zisu just flashed that trademark shameless grin, totally unfazed. The girl was undeniably quick-witted. She instantly pulled the bathroom emergency card, clearly a tactical retreat from Qing Dai's lecture. It was a textbook display of someone dodging real labor the second things got busy. The East Courtyard crew was so used to her chaos that no one even blinked. The head maid just sighed and shooed her away, telling her to hurry up and vanish. Instead of being a nuisance, Zisu took the win and happily skipped toward the kitchen. On a mission for snacks, she completely forgot her duties. But while crossing the courtyard, she crossed paths with a fresh probationary maid. Zisu, who literally can't stay still, immediately channeled the head maid's bossy energy to flex on the newcomer. But this girl, Suin, didn't give her the time of day. She didn't even offer a greeting before walking away. That audacity triggered Zisu instantly. She chased her down, dropping threats about rank and seniority, warning her to respect her elders or face a life of hauling filth in the outer courtyard. Just as the situation began to spiral, Song Yangshuang appeared and pinned Zisu in place. The second she felt his hand, Zisu's entire vibe did a complete 180-degree flip. She transformed into the ultimate starry-eyed fangirl, staring at him like he was her entire world. In a heartbeat, she was a mess of tears and snot lunging toward him. With arms wide open, she tried to dive tackle Song Yangshuang's chest. Luckily, his reflexes were elite. He caught her mid-air. But meanwhile, the probationary maid, Su-an, was watching closely. She was eyeing him with a dark, predatory gaze as if plotting a cold-blooded scheme. That icy stare put Song Yangshuang on high alert. He had zero memory of her. Not even a trace of her existed in his past life. Yet here she was, wearing the uniform. Zisu, still salty, added that this girl was just a low-tier transfer from the outer courtyard, claiming she had no looks and mid-tier skills. But Song Yangshuang wasn't even listening. He tuned out Zisu's yapping and fired up the Star-Lord system to scan the girl. Sure enough, the results were sus. No normal human should be packing that kind of heat. Something sinister was buried deep. Her aura and cultivation traces told a very different story. Song Yangshuang instantly clocked her as another Milan infiltrator, using a high-tech miniature device. She was masking her true yellow rank power as a mere commoner. Song Yangshuang's eyes narrowed. He didn't know Milan's endgame, but with him back, their little spy games were over. Drama aside, Zisu was being a total handful, clinging to him like glue all day. She insisted he witness her future glow-up, leaving him caught between amusement and a headache. By then, the news of his return reached Li Yan, and right on cue, she was waiting in the corridor, radiant with a welcoming smile. Qing Dai followed close behind. Song Lan appeared too, though their reactions weren't nearly as dramatic as Li Yan's pure joy. The moment they locked eyes, the head maid began low-key probing Song Yangshuang's power level. She was shook. How did he jump from yellow rank to earth rank in 1 year? However, Song Yangshuang was playing the same game, eyeing their cultivation, especially Qing Dai's. She had been his shadow for years, but what he discovered next blew his mind. The truth. This head maid actually possessed early earth rank cultivation. Was she a hidden bodyguard? Following Song Yongxiang's exit, the old master emerged from the third uncle's chambers. Standing beside Uncle Song Miao, the patriarch issued a formal, heavy decree. He granted Song Yongxiang the absolute authority of a family head. Total obedience was now mandatory. The order was final. He even demanded the immediate return of the legendary Aga and Ajin. The elite shadow guards were reassigned. Their new lifelong mission: protect the young master at all costs. Even Uncle Song-mu was rattled. Such extreme security surpassed even the patriarch's personal guard. The old master didn't blink. He planned to hand over full control of the entire shadow unit. In his eyes, that lethal force would only find its true purpose in the boy's hands. Back at the eastern courtyard, Song Yongxiang was swarmed by a small army of maids. The pampering was intense, creating a warm, nostalgic vibe. This was the peak high life. It felt like a fever dream of his past life as a carefree, wealthy heir. No stress, just luxury. But while the fun was great, he couldn't lose his focus. Real business needed his attention. If he grew too lax, his enemies would definitely strike. Knowing Suin was a Miao Nation spy, he pulled Zisu aside for a secret mission. Monitor her every move, he commanded. But remember, your own safety comes before the job. Zisu didn't hesitate. She thumped her chest, claiming she'd suspected that sus girl for ages. From the look in her eyes, she was clearly itching for a bit of payback. Honestly, that grudge was a bonus. Her clingy, stubborn nature made her the ultimate tail. A sharp little troublemaker like Zisu was actually the perfect candidate for high-stakes surveillance. Dismissing the staff, Song Yongxiang claimed he needed rest to be left alone. The truth, he needed privacy to inspect the mysterious inheritance his mother had left behind. Who was she really? He stared at the box, which looked surprisingly plain and ordinary. The material was unremarkable. It didn't look like something meant to guard a world-shaking secret. Yet its simple appearance only made his curiosity burn even brighter. When he tried to open it, he hit a wall, a password lock. He was totally speechless. Grandpa skipped that detail. However, upon closer inspection, the sealing array looked fairly basic. No problem. He'd just let the Star-Lord system override and crack the code. As the system worked, he replayed his mother's cryptic final words in his mind. Humanity cannot defy the laws of time. Time itself is a bridge that cannot be crossed. But the board can be reset. Beneath the star web, all things are mere game pieces. What was the hidden message? Just as he spiraled into thought, the system pinged. The lock shattered. Surprisingly, the system indicated there were 12 different valid combinations. Confusion set in. Why would his mother leave so many correct ways to enter? She was becoming a total enigma. Then he noticed the number strings looked strangely familiar. It felt like a buried memory. He entered 133000499. Click, the box popped open, revealing only 3 items resting inside the velvet. The first was a token. He recognized it instantly. The words, Star Stepping Gate, were engraved. He'd heard that name during his past life while serving in the Black Armor Guard. It was linked to the organization's most classified and legendary shadow operations. Yet it was treated as a forbidden phrase. No one dared to speak it aloud. Shaking off the chill, he set the token aside and grabbed a beautiful jade lock. Its purpose was unknown despite the exquisite detail. Finally, he reached for the strange mask. The moment he touched it, it hummed to life. 4 glowing words appeared, all beings, no fixed form. Was that its title? On the back, 4 more words surfaced. Form follows the heart. Is this thing talking in riddles now? He leaned in, peering deeper into the relic. The mask appeared raw and incomplete, lacking even basic slits for the eyes or breath. Yet despite the solid surface, a strange phenomenon occurred. Song Yongxiang perceived the world with crystal-clear vision. Glancing at his reflection, reality suddenly shattered. A cold chill struck him. The artifact had disappeared, but the transformation was far worse. Staring back from the glass wasn't his youthful face, but a weathered elderly version of himself. Shocked, he wondered, did this relic truly possess the power to reshape his very existence? The mask's abilities were beyond insane. Suddenly, fate played its hand as King Dai, the head maid, burst into the room. Finding a stranger there, she nearly jumped out of her skin from terror. In a heartbeat, the young master had vanished, replaced by an unknown middle-aged intruder. Panic flared. Her mind immediately raced to thoughts of a deadly kidnapper infiltrating the estate. King Dai brandished her dagger, eyes sharp with lethal intent. Song Yongxiang stood paralyzed, clueless on how to clarify this disaster. This cursed mask was a death trap. Let's rewind the clock. Uncle Song-mu had arrived with the elite shadow guards to discuss a matter of grave importance. With Song Yongxiang seeking the young master, King Dai had ascended the stairs to deliver the report. Fate's timing was atrocious. She entered at the precise second he donned that mysterious artifact. Witnessing this elderly stranger for the first time, King Dai didn't hesitate for a single heartbeat. She unsheathed her blade, demanding his identity. The young master was left utterly stunned and speechless. Why was youth today so reckless? Couldn't they just talk without reaching for lethal steel first? Before he could process the thought, King Dai moved beyond threats. She lunged for the kill. A frantic chase ensued. With the situation spiraling, Song Yongxiang was forced to strike back first and subdue her. He pinned her down, yet her fiery resistance didn't waver for a second. She screamed assassin, desperate to summon the guards. This was a catastrophe. Song Yongxiang had to stop. If her cries reached the courtyard, an army of guards would swarm the room. Unfortunately, their current struggle looked incredibly scandalous to any outside observer who might walk in. To be fair, the blame lay with King Dai. She had initiated this violent confrontation. Amidst the frenzy, an ancient phrase from the mask flashed through his mind. Form follows the heart. Did this relic truly possess the magic to mold his flesh into any image? It was no myth. As he visualized King Dai, his body began to warp and shift instantly. He became her twin. The sight froze, King Dai in shock. Even he found it terrifyingly absurd that the mask's power was this broken. Finally, the mystery of his elderly form became clear. That aged reflection was his inner truth, the most authentic version of his soul, hidden deep within. While he struggled with this revelation, Uncle Songmu's stern voice suddenly boomed from the hallway. The noise had attracted attention. To complicate matters, the situation was about to get much more awkward. As he reverted to his true self, the door swung open, revealing Songmu and his entourage. The scene before them was beyond scandalous. Explaining this mess would be a total nightmare. The white-haired youth in the back grinned, giving a silent thumbs up of pure admiration. He hailed the young master as a true legend. Despite the cringe, Uncle Songmu remained stoic. Completely unfazed, the elder repeated his earlier reminder with tireless stone-cold persistence that his fiancée, Kang Jing-shin, was arriving for tonight's banquet. The mention triggered a massive migraine. He'd heard that name 1,000 times today. He was reaching his breaking point with the nagging. Tuning out the noise, he approached King Dai, hoping to soothe her frayed nerves with a few words. Yet her face was a mask of hurt. She looked genuinely traumatized by the entire ordeal. Finally, he dismissed her, allowing the poor girl some breathing room to gather her scattered thoughts. With the maid gone, the group moved to the study, ready to dive into serious family business. Before diving in, Song Yongxiang demanded the absolute unfiltered truth from his uncle. Had the old master really planted Qing Dai? Songmu finally dropped the act and spoke the truth. Qing Dai was actually an Earth-rank elite from the Shadow Guards stationed at the Song estate. Her mission for years was simple: protect him from the shadows. Suddenly, the impossible started making sense. Everything clicked. He remembered the bloody escape in his past life and the ghosts who saved him. Those mysterious warriors had fought like demons to pave his way. Then Uncle Songmu took charge. He broke down the Shadow Guard's lethal hierarchy for the young master. Team 1 handled the operations. Team 2 specialized in intelligence, while Team 3 served as ultimate protection. Each had unique duties. They were independent units until this very moment. The old Marquis had just issued a legendary decree. Song Yongxiang was now their absolute sovereign. To seal this, Songmu summoned Ajin and Aga. It was time for a face-to-face introduction with his new shadows. But those casual code names? Yongxiang almost laughed. Ajin and Aga sounded more like house pets than elite, cold-blooded killers. Despite the goofy names, both warriors showed total respect. Meet Gao Gea, the black-haired beast. He led Team 1. Beside him stood Mao Jinhua, the white-haired prodigy leading Team 2. And Songmu. He naturally commanded the third team. When Yangxiang questioned the names, Songmu dropped a bombshell. Those names were actually gifts from Yangxiang's mother. They were once just starving, nameless orphans. To her, they weren't just soldiers. They were practically her foster sons. Then things got even deeper. Gao Gea recalled a specific conversation with his mother. His name wasn't random at all. It belonged to a legendary hero of an ancient civilization. Mao Jin's name shared that mythic origin. Except his was the title of a terrifying ancient demon god. Both had been nobodies once. Without her intervention in the slums, they would have ended up as long-forgotten corpses. But these revelations only fueled Yangxiang's suspicion. Hero or demon god, it was all connected. Every clue pointed back to that ultra-ancient civilization and his mysterious mother. Why was his memory of her a total blank? Who was she really in his previous life? He barely remembered his parents at all. He just recalled the old master's vague explanation. They vanished 16 years ago. The public story, a tragic accident. But the truth was buried. He was only 2 when they disappeared. Back then, he was young, reckless, and completely oblivious. He hadn't cared about the past. Then came years of hell, wandering and fighting to survive. He had zero energy to play detective. After decades of carnage, his parents were just ghosts. They were buried deep in his psyche. But things were different now. Yangxiang was certain. Songmu knew the real story. With his new rank, one direct order should force the truth. Yet seeing the conflict in Songmu's eyes, Yangxiang sensed a hesitation that felt heavy. It was that "I can't tell you" look, a secret too dangerous to be spoken aloud. He replayed his past life in his head and realized a very chilling pattern. Everyone dodged the subject of his parents like a plague. Was the rabbit hole even deeper? Yangxiang ultimately swallowed his curiosity. If Songmu wasn't ready to talk, he wouldn't push. There was no need to grill a loyal man who had bled for the family for years. Instead, he shifted gears, ordering Songmu to prep a flying vessel immediately. He was finally home. It was time to visit the cemetery and face his parents' shadows. With the tension easing, the group headed back to the hall. But a new thought hit him. As the brand new commander of the Shadow Guards, he realized something very interesting. Logic dictated that Qing Dai was now under his direct command. The moment he spoke, Songmu looked visibly pained but couldn't deny the facts. With a heavy sigh, he conceded. The authority was absolute. He summoned Qing Dai for her new orders. As for her, she didn't blink. She stepped forward, ready to serve her new master, without any hesitation. She reported her rank with military precision. Watching her, Yang Xiang felt a strange emotional surge. For years, she'd been his silent guardian, shielding him from the shadows. That kind of devotion carries a heavy price. Song Yang Xiang felt it was finally time to repay her loyalty. But as Qing Die's fingers closed around the pill, she froze in pure shock. One look at her face told you everything. She'd likely never held anything this precious in her entire life. And she wasn't alone. The three standing behind her were just as floored. A level 5 pill easily clears 1,000,000, making even Uncle Songmu's jaw drop at his nephew's insane generosity. This wasn't just a gift. It was a major power move. See, this Earth Spirit pill is legendary. It can boost an Earth rank warrior up a full minor realm with 0 drawbacks. It's a one-time buff, but the second Ujin and Aga heard the stats, their eyes practically glowed. Who cares about anything else? A shortcut to power like that is pure endgame loot. Even Qing Di was reeling once the reality of the pill's power finally sank in. This tier of alchemy is basically a crown jewel. Even the Tiandu royals would kill to own one. Everyone completely misread the man. To Song Yang Xiang, dropping a level 5 pill was like throwing pennies. He's got stockpiles for days. Since he was building his inner circle, he had to start leveling up his most loyal allies. He casually dropped a hint to Ujin and Aga stay loyal, and high-tier pills would be raining down on them. After hearing those words, the two nearly lost their minds, swearing their eternal fealty right then and there. Wherever their master's blade pointed, they'd tear through the world until nothing remained but ash. Perfect timing because there's a job on the table. Someone needs a deep dive investigation, and it's the ultimate trial for Shadow Guard Team 2. As soon as the command dropped, the squad vanished into the night. Ujin was especially hyped, ready to secure a flawless victory. Meanwhile, Song Yang Xiang and Uncle Song Mu headed for the ancestral graveyard to honor his fallen parents. Aboard the skyship, Xiaojie couldn't stay quiet. Why was Ma San a broken man? Tagging along for such a personal journey, Ma San just countered with a sharp question. Could he not see it? The young master who returned was a total beast compared to his old self. Right then, Song Yang Xiang was in the back, spitting facts about top-tier herbs and market strategies. The useless playboy persona was officially dead. Even shopkeeper Hong was left speechless by the intel being demanded. Some of these ingredients were myths even to him. Luckily, Hong was at the merchant guild's Nanzhou HQ, meaning the best scholars were just a floor away. Once he disconnected, he bolted into the inner sanctum. There, the powerhouse Hong Yuxiao was waiting. The guild's true heir. She was the one running the entire Nanzhou show right now. One look at Song Yang Xiang's file was enough. She told Hong to clear her calendar immediately. She had a gut feeling she needed to see this young marquis face to face. But back at the cemetery, as Song Yang Xiang prepared to mourn his parents who were taken too soon, a high-tech hoverbike roared to life outside the Taiyan Assassin HQ at that exact moment. The rider, none other than A-san, the girl Song Yang Xiang loved in another life. She flashed her codes, finally getting the green light to enter the fortress. She didn't hesitate. A San gunned the engine and dove through the massive waterfall hiding the base. A single inch off, and she'd be a smear on the rocks. She hit the deck so fast the bike skidded for a quarter mile before stopping. But for A-san, this was just another Tuesday. She was just vibing with the feeling of being back home. At only 18, A-san was already the host for the legendary Lubu. Since she's always on missions, she almost never gets a break here. She was really itching to see her senior sister. Ages had passed since Asan's last visit, but the moment Sanan spotted her, the junior disciple broke down into hysterical sobbing. Witnessing that raw agony, Asan immediately sensed that something truly catastrophic was unfolding. Her intuition hit home. Sanan was traveled to Beidou with their master, but the two of them were ambushed on the way by forces from the Milan nation. Worse still, because their master was desperate to save her disciple, she ended up suffering grave injuries herself. The second she heard that, Asan's face changed. She immediately told her junior sister to lead the way, so she could check on their master at once. Meanwhile, inside the infirmary, the atmosphere had already turned unbearably heavy. The physicians at Taiyuan headquarters had just announced that their 12th attempt at formulating a treatment had failed. Just as they were preparing to begin the 13th attempt, Asan rushed into the room with Sanan. The moment she saw her master lying weakly in bed, Asan was shaken to the core. She could not even imagine what kind of vicious method those Milan bastards had used on her master. The woman on the bed was named Suan Yang. She was currently 37 years old. and had early-stage heaven-rank cultivation. If she had not risked herself to save Sanan, she never would have ended up in such a tragic state. At that moment, mysterious toxin marks had already spread all across her arm. If they could not produce the proper antidote soon, she would likely die before long. What made this poison truly terrifying was that it continuously eroded the victim's secondary, star soul veins, while being extremely difficult to purge from the body. Hearing that, Asan asked in disbelief whether even Taiyuan's technology could not formulate the right antidote. The physician's answer was brutally direct. He told her that they had already tried 12 times. At the moment, the only thing they could do was use filtration methods to barely stop the poison from spreading into the brain. But judging from the current state of things, they likely did not have enough time left to keep experimenting. On top of that, the structure of the poison itself was abnormally strange. It was not a simple chemical toxin. Instead, it fused chemical compounds with soul power in an extremely intricate way, creating stable toxin units. Judging from that structure alone, the method looked strikingly similar to the techniques of alchemists. After hearing that explanation, Asan understood right away. At this point, only a truly top-tier alchemist might still be able to save her master. But time was running out, and she had no idea where she was supposed to find someone like that on such short notice. The physician could see the desperation on her face, and he could only add helplessly that with the current level of alchemy, on the Eastern continent it was basically impossible for someone good enough to appear. In other words, there was probably no real way out of this anymore. But at that exact moment, Asan suddenly remembered someone. When she left Yunding City, that person seemed to have given her several pills. The instant the memory surfaced, she immediately pulled out the storage card. The next second, she dumped the pills inside, straight onto the bedside. That single move stunned both physicians on the spot, because among those pills were not only revitalization pills, but also ones that boosted cultivation efficiency, others that enhanced combat strength, and several more besides. Every single one was frighteningly high in both value and quality. Somewhere among that pile, there really did seem to be a bottle with obvious detoxifying properties. The physician's expression changed at once. He immediately ordered someone to analyze the ingredients, because there was now a real possibility that one of those pills could save Suan Yang's life. When Sanan saw Asan suddenly throw out that many precious pills, she was so shocked that she blurted out a question on the spot, asking whether senior sister had just robbed the Hong clan grand apothecary. That instantly made Asan awkward beyond words, because the truth was, every single one of those pills had been given to her by a mysterious man. After a round of scientific analysis, the doctors finally confirmed that the white pill really did have detoxifying effects. As if everything had been arranged in advance, there were exactly 3 doses inside, just enough to completely solve the problem in Suan Yang's body. As an assassin, Asan would never believe that something like this was merely coincidence. Deep down, she had already started asking herself over and over again just what kind of man Song Yunxiang really was. Meanwhile, inside the audience corridor at Taiyuan headquarters, the High Priestess. After taking pills provided by Target S-691, Suan Yang had already been pulled back from the brink. That result brought a rare flicker of surprise to the High Priestess's face. According to the file, this man possessed the ability to copy Origin Star, Soul Generals, but that kind of method was supposed to belong solely to that person. She could not understand why it had somehow appeared in the outside world. The only explanation she could come up with was that that person had most likely taken over the body described in the file, but that made even less sense, because she had clearly prepared a far better vessel long ago. Could it be that the doctor who once founded the assassin organization Taiwan had truly returned elsewhere? Song Yangshang was still standing in the Song family cemetery, paying respects to his mysterious missing parents. Just as he had expected, the scan results showed that their actual remains were not there at all, which meant this gravesite was most likely nothing more than a decoy, arranged by the old master all those years ago. Still, judging from the mask called All Beings No Fixed Form, his parents were clearly anything but ordinary. So what kind of secret had they vanished with back then? Once the memorial was over, a Jin immediately reported that he had already uncovered information on the man named Sun Xia. He was 19 years old, came from the slums, had once been in prison for tomb raiding, and had now built up a gang, called the White Dragon Gang, mainly making money by fencing goods for grave robbers. At present, that group was holed up inside an abandoned residence at number 13 Dagu Alley, in the northern part of the city, and Shadow Guard Team 2 already had the place under full surveillance. After hearing that Song Yangshang made up his mind on the spot to go there personally, he had to find out how Sun Xia in the previous life managed to seize the Cao Ren inheritance that should have belonged to the Song family. Meanwhile, back at the landing platform, Old Ma and Old Xia were actually discussing Song Yangshang's fiancée Kong Jingxin. Old Ma believed that with Song Yangshang's current status and ability, there was no need at all for him to keep enduring in silence for the sake of the Song family. and marry a woman like Kong Jingshin. Old Xia, however, felt that the old marquis probably would not go so far as to break faith like that. But before the two of them could argue it out, Song Yang Shang and the others had already returned to the landing platform. After that, the whole group headed straight for the northern part of the city under Song Yang Shang's orders. As the time of evening was drawing near, a small-time thug finally showed up at the entrance of the abandoned house they had been secretly monitoring. Judging from the huge bag he was carrying, this trip had obviously brought him quite a haul. The only problem was that the man spoke in such a thick, countryside accent that even the eavesdropping became harder than expected. Still, from the things he laid out on the ground, it was clear they had probably been dug out of the tomb of some wealthy family. On the surface, they looked ordinary, but mixed in among them were clearly some items of real value. But logically speaking, a 19-year-old slum kid like Sun Xia should not know the first thing about antique treasures. So, how was he suddenly able to judge this kind of stuff? Sure enough, Song Yangshang soon saw Sun Xia grab the ring hanging from his chest and lower his head. He thought for a moment, and the next second, the ring began to glow with a faint purple light. Right after that, Sun Xia deliberately put on an arrogant superior air and started choosing the items he wanted. On top of that, he acted like some seasoned old fox, ordering the lackeys in front of him to split profits with the grave robbers on a 30-70 ratio, and even making the other side cover transport costs. Now that the sales channel was in his hands, he naturally wanted the biggest slice for himself. If they did not like it, they could walk away. The moment Sun Xiao's words fell, that lackey immediately ran out to renegotiate with the grave robbers. Judging from the way things looked, their fencing business was doing pretty damn well these days. As for everything that had just happened, Song Yang Shang and a Jin had been watching the entire thing from the rooftop of the neighboring building. And as the leader of Shadow Guard Team 2A Jin still could not stop marveling at Song Yang Shang's invisibility array. It could distort light block sound and even suppress soul power fluctuations. For stealth and assassination, it was practically a perfect tool. To squeeze out more useful information, Song Yangshang took A Jin and moved even closer to the courtyard where Sun Xia was staying. With the invisibility array covering them, they had only just landed soundlessly on the rooftop when they heard Sun Xia speaking in a low voice to the presence inside the ring. From the contents of their conversation, it was obvious that if not for the ring, guiding and backing him from the shadows, Sun Xia would never have become the leader of the White Dragon gang. The being inside the ring even stated clearly that it could already sense the life flame of Song Yangshang's third great uncle, nearing its final extinguishing. As long as the two of them kept working together, then in the future, the one who would become the host of the Star Soul General Cao Ren would definitely be them. At the same time, Song Yangshang noticed something else. This Sun Xia standing before him felt completely different from the soul entity he had encountered in his previous life, and yet, from the ring on Sun Xia's hand came a soul power fluctuation. That felt strangely familiar. Only after calming down and thinking it through did Song Yangshang finally realize the truth. The soul power coming from that ring was the one that truly belonged to the person he had known in his previous life. Meanwhile, back at the Mecha Martial Academy, Master Nan Guo was also leading his men in rushing out a batch of newly designed Wei Yuan mechs. On the surface, this order had been personally assigned by Principal Gu of the Academy. In practice, it had already been elevated to the level of a top priority military matter. Master Nan even pounded his chest and guaranteed that as long as the materials kept coming in, he would absolutely finish the order on time. On top of that, he had even prepared a special surprise for Song Yangshang clearly, hoping to use it as a chance to formally become his disciple. But in Song Yangshang's eyes, this so-called new design was really just a rough mashup of all the previous blueprints he had given out earlier. It looked flashy enough on the surface, sure, but the whole structure was far too bloated. Anyone with a trained eye could tell instantly that the soul power consumption on that thing would be massive. Still seeing how passionate Master Nan was, Song Yangshang chose not to tear the idea apart on the spot. Fortunately, Master Tang's family could provide the crucial ore and metal supplies needed for this round of mech production. Otherwise, this whole deal might never have come together in the first place. In truth, Master Tang also needed a major order on the Chen family side to stabilize his own standing there, so this time he was putting everything he had into it, dead set on making sure this deal went through. At the same time, while Song Yangshang was keeping watch on Sun Xia, in the northern part of the city, he received word that his fiancée, Kong Xingxin, was also heading toward the north side. Based on the intelligence gathered by Shadow Guard Team, Kong Xingxin had probably been secretly involved with Sun Xia for quite some time already. The only reason this had never been reported back to the family was because they wanted to avoid enraging Song Yangshang and keep the Song family's internal peace from falling apart on the surface. In a way, this only confirmed what had happened in Song Yangshang's previous life, when Kong Xingxin ultimately abandoned him. But now that he knew in advance, the situation was completely different. One way or another, that woman was going to pay a price for this. Even so, what interested Song Yangshang more than Kong Shinshin was still the ring in Sun Xia's hand. In his previous life, who exactly had been the one that rose by borrowing Sun Xia's body? Song Yangshang glanced at the sky and judged that it was about time for him to head back to the estate. It looked like this trip home was guaranteed to come with a full show. Still, with one mystery after another piling up, the whole thing was exhausting. Before leaving, Song Yangshang still handed A Jin and the others in Shadow Guard Team 2 quite a few shadow stealth talismans. When it came to Kong Sinsin, he needed hard evidence in hand before he could truly break the situation open. That part for now would be left to A Jin and his people. Meanwhile, over at the landing platform in the outer courtyard of the Song residence, guests had already begun arriving one after another. The first ones to show up were the younger members of his second uncle Song Bao's line, Song Yunduan and Song Yunshu. And yet the two of them were actually guessing that the reason Song Yangshang came home this time was probably because he had run out of money outside. Clearly that whole branch of the family did not follow the news at all, and the very last person to step off the flying vessel turned out to be Song Yangshang's eldest sister, Song Yongjin, the very commander of the Scarlet Luan army from earlier on. That fact alone, tonight's family banquet was already guaranteed to be anything but peaceful. Before night fully fell, Song Yangshang also returned to the Song residence, bathed, changed clothes, and prepared himself for the family banquet that awaited him. As the saying went, 30 years east of the river, 30 years west. Tonight, Song Yangshang intended to take back piece by piece everything he had once lost. Meanwhile, inside the banquet hall of the outer courtyard, several highly important figures had already taken their seats. Among the older generation, the eldest uncle of the Song family was unable to attend because military affairs kept him tied down, so his wife Madam He had come in his place. No matter what, he had to teach this little cousin a lesson first. In the blink of an eye, Song Yangshang's soul power began to spread through the banquet hall. Since everyone present had cultivation, he was not worried about causing any trouble. Once they sensed that earth-rank aura from him, everyone showed clear surprise. Only concubine Bai and Zhao reacted differently. She looked at Song Yangshang with obvious relief and pride, almost like a mother watching her son finally grow up. But Song Yangqi still refused to accept it. After all, he was also at the early stage of earth rank, and he was 2 years younger than Song Yangshang, so he still clung to the title of the Song family's #1 genius, and refused to call Song Yangshang big brother. In that case, there was no helping it, since the brat was forcing him to show off. Then, Song Yangshang had no choice but to take the pill. After swallowing an earth spirit pill, Song Yangshang gave them all a live demonstration of what it meant to break from early stage earth rank to mid-stage earth rank. The burst of soul power spread through the entire room, like a fountain exploding upward. Now they should have nothing left to say. Did they really still think he was the same useless playboy from before? At this point, the title of Song Family Genius suited him much better. The one who had been the Song family's #1 genius 1 second ago nearly turned into Song Yangshang's biggest admirer the next. This kid really was shamelessly quick to switch sides. After learning that Song Yangshang had pills that could help someone break through, he even said he was willing to call him grandpa. In exchange for that chance, calling him brother would work, and Song Yangshang could accept that. But if you really wanted to call him grandpa, then that would depend on whether the old marquis could tolerate it. After seeing him act like that, everyone present felt so awkward that the whole atmosphere instantly turned painfully stiff. At that moment, concubine Xiao, who came from a family skilled in pillcraft, could not help asking Song Yangshang whether that was the legendary 5-star Earth Spirit pill. The moment she said that, both Madame Cheng and Madame He were stunned. Even Tiandu Nation's royal family could not casually bring out many treasures of that level. The 5-star pill on Madame He's side of the family had been passed down through Marquis Wei Ding's household for more than 400 years. Madame Cheng had also recently heard that the Hong Merchant Guild had made a huge profit a few days ago by auctioning off a batch of 3-star pills. After gaining the favor of some great alchemy master, if a bottle like this ended up in her and her husband's hands, then the Song family's businesses would surely prosper even more this year. What troubled her most now was how she was supposed to ask her nephew Song Yangshang for it. If this Earth Spirit pill were given to the backbone members of the family, then the Song family's middle-tier strength would rise by another level. Although he had already seen Song Yangshang's pill refining ability, earlier that morning at Third Uncle's place, he was still shocked all over again. At this moment, Madam He had not joined the conversation, but she also knew exactly how valuable this pill was. Normally, a single one would already be enough to become the treasured heirloom of some first-rate families. First Uncle Song Qing naturally had no need for such a pill, but for the sake of Yun Jin and Yun Qi, lowering her pride a little, as their mother was hardly a big deal. But at this exact moment, her pride got in the way again. Over the years, First Uncle's branch had no grudge or misunderstanding with Song Yangshang. But if she acted too warmly now, she feared people would laugh at her for being opportunistic. Yet if she stayed too cold, she feared she would never get the chance to ask. While she was still hesitating, Madame Cheng had already struck first and directly pulled Song Yang down into the seat beside her. Seeing Madame Cheng go that far, madam, he immediately told Song Yang to pour tea for his older brother, Song Yang, and apologize. The moment those words fell, the old marquis, who had somehow become the least noticeable person at the table, suddenly realized that his tea set had vanished. In the blink of an eye, that tea set together with Song Yunshu had already appeared beside Song Yang's seat. Good heavens, this kid really had no fear of death. Sure enough, this made the old marquis's face turn red with anger. If not for Yanqi's decent aptitude, he probably would have ended up as the main course on tonight's table. Still, under the current circumstances, Song Yang intended to give him that chance, but it would depend on his recent performance. Besides, the kid really was talented. Helping him push toward heaven rank next time was not impossible. Not long after that little farce ended, Song Yang Shuo and Song Yang Rui also arrived together. Sharp-eyed as ever, Song Yang Shuo immediately noticed that something was wrong with the seating arrangement in her memory. Why would that little good-for-nothing be sitting in her father's seat? Although the old marquis had always been heavily biased towards Song Yang, her mother had never bought into it. Yet now, looking at her mother's attitude, it could already be considered somewhat flattering. While Song Yangshu was still thinking, that blockhead Song Yangrui suddenly jumped out and told Song Yangxiang to get off his father's seat. Good thing Song Yangshu covered that idiot's mouth. The very next second, otherwise, before dinner even started, Song Yangxiang might have ended up breaking through to heaven rank out of sheer rage. Those two cousins really were the perfect contrast. One knew how to read the room and when to back off, while the other was a complete fool who loved acting like a bootlicker. He had also been at odds with Song Yangxiang for a long time because of Kong Xingxin. Maybe fools really did have lucky lives. Because in Song Yangxiang's previous life, Song Yangrui had actually been one of the only two survivors of the Song family. Back when Song Yangxiang was wandering in exile through Shishui Nation, he ran into him again. At the time, Song Yangrui seemed to be hunting down some so-called Song family bastard, insisting that if not for that bastard, the Song family would never have been wiped out in the beast tide. After that, Song Yangxiang never saw him again. They met by chance, then parted again just as quickly. Even now, Song Yangxiang still did not know who that bastard Song Yangrui had been talking about, who it really was. Could this somehow also be tied to the coming beast tide? If that were true, then it would mean a traitor had already appeared among the Song family's direct bloodline. Right after that, the eldest sister of the Song family's third generation, Song Yunjin, also walked in. If she had not seen the report from the Scarlet Luan army with her own eyes, she never would have believed that Song Yangxiang had really managed to lead them out alive in front of a god-ranked beast. His eldest sister truly was capable. She had built up an entire Scarlet Luan army, made up solely of female officers. Still, she seemed to be constantly troubled by military funding, which left her looking tense and troubled all the time. Even so, Song Yangxiang really did owe her thanks this time for sending the warship to pick him up. Without that, he never would have made it home so smoothly. The old marquis obviously knew that Song Yunjin had been short on funds lately, so he deliberately said that all expenses from this trip would be reimbursed by the family. And right then, Song Yangshu's greedy streak flared up again. She muttered under her breath that their eldest sister had probably only come back for dinner, so grandfather would reimburse her expenses. And those words instantly darkened Song Yunjin's face. But that was also a form of testing. Song Yunjin had always despised the old playboy Song Yangxiang used to be. So if she could still remain this polite now, that only meant this younger cousin had truly grown into something impressive. To make things easier for everyone, Song Yangxiang directly told the old master that he would cover his eldest sister's expenses himself, since the whole trip had happened because she came to bring him home. The moment he said that, the old master instantly turned into a sly old fox and smoothly replied that, since Song Yangxiang had made several fortunes lately, a mere few millions surely meant nothing to him. Seriously, Song Yangxiang might now be poor in everything except pills and money, but the old master had thrown that burden onto him with ridiculous skill. At the same time, fourth uncle from the southern courtyard and the old marquis's adopted daughter, Song Shi, also arrived at the banquet hall. The moment this fourth uncle saw Song Yangxiang back, he immediately became excited. He even said that tonight he would treat everyone and drag old Ma out for a couple of drinks. Song Yangxiang had only just built up his new image, so there was no way he was letting it collapse like that. He really needed people to stop inviting him to that kind of thing from now on. At tonight's Song family banquet, aside from first uncle and second uncle, basically all of the Song family's third generation and household members had already arrived. This fourth uncle, Song Cheng, was the old master's youngest son. Rumor had it that he was born to the old master's second wife. In terms of cultivation, he ranked at the bottom among the brothers, and his status in the Song family had even been worse than Song Yangxiang's in his previous life. Little aunt. Song Shi was the old master's adopted daughter. In his previous life, Song Yangxiang had never really cared about where she came from. She was not yet 30 already at early-stage Earth rank and recently seemed to have risen into management within the preparatory academy. If none of the people present were the problem, then could the traitor, Song Yanggrui once mentioned, have been someone else entirely? Song Yangxiang just did not know whether Song Yanggrui already knew who that so-called bastard really was. Maybe he should find a chance to test him. But just as Song Yanxiang was about to speak, a little girl suddenly threw herself into his arms. She pouted that when he was not there, nobody took her out for good food. This little girl was Song Yunhua, the daughter of second uncle and concubine Bian Zhou. Among all the Song siblings and cousins, she was one of the people closest to Song Yanxiang. At the same time, Song Yunzhao, the daughter of second uncle and concubine Zhao, also appeared behind him. It was said that, back then, concubine Zhao had risen from being second uncle's secretary to becoming his concubine, largely because of this daughter. But the girl herself was quiet and reserved, exactly the kind of person Song Yanxiang was worst at dealing with. When Song Yanxiang asked Yunhua whether she wanted to sit together, she answered in a strange, teasing tone that every person who sat in that seat ended up getting ruthlessly fleeced by grandfather. Song Yanxiang was instantly speechless. If this girl had shown up earlier, he might have escaped this disaster. Forget it, he would just treat it as spending money to ward off trouble. Once everyone had taken their seats, the old master told the stewards to fill all the cups. And tonight's family banquet was finally about to begin. The moment Yunqi heard that wine was being poured, he immediately raised his hand and volunteered to serve. Song Yanxiang, this kid, was really willing to go all out for the sake of those pills. That sudden change left the people who had just arrived completely stunned. Song Yunqi was usually proud and aloof, so seeing him suddenly act like this was genuinely bizarre. At the same time, Uncle Song Wu reminded the old marquis that the Kong family from Yangqin City had not arrived yet, so pouring the wine now might be a little early. The old marquis was probably just too happy today. Judging from his expression, he seemed to have completely forgotten about it. Still, the Kong family was at least the ruling family of a city and part of the court system, so they had to be given some face. The old marquis therefore told everyone to wait a little longer. The moment he heard that the Kong family was coming, Song Yanrui immediately perked up. Even now, he still treated Kong Jingxin like some kind of goddess. Seeing that, Song Yanxiang immediately told him to behave himself. No matter what, Kong Jingxin still had a marriage contract with Song Yanxiang, so she was not someone he should be talking about so casually. But that idiot shamelessly replied that Kong Jingxin did not even like Song Yanxiang, and that once he broke through to Earth rank, he would ask the old master to switch the engagement over to him instead. Song Yunxiu genuinely could not understand why her brother liked Kong Jingxin so much. She had long since seen that woman for exactly what she was, but Song Yanrui only shot her a look and told her to go think about it herself. The scenery there really was wide open and flat enough. That instantly pushed Song Yunxiu over the edge. She rolled up her sleeves and looked ready to beat Song Yanrui on the spot. Seeing that the situation had turned bad, Song Yanrui immediately grabbed Steward Song Shuai and claimed he was going to the front gate to receive City Lord Kong, clearly using it as an excuse to run. Not long after he left, Qingdai came to report to Song Yanxiang, and the old marquis that team leader Ma had returned and wanted to deliver some news in person. He was already waiting in the side hall. When Song Yanxiang and the old marquis arrived at the side hall, Mao Jinhua immediately handed over the photos he had just taken. After Song Yanxiang left the northern part of the city, that scheming Kong Jingxin had actually brought both her father and grandfather to examine Qinxia in person, and the behavior between the two of them had been extremely suggestive. On top of that, the Song family's planted source inside the Kong family had learned that Old Master Kong, fresh off his heaven-ranked breakthrough, was already planning to bring Zunjia in as a live-in son-in-law. He even intended to publicly break the engagement with Song Yanxiang during tonight's family banquet. That old man had gone so far as to declare that he wanted to measure strength with the Song family. After seeing the photos and hearing the recording, everyone present was left speechless. A man who had only just broken through to heaven rank actually dared to talk like that. Did he really think the Song family was made of paper? The old marquis then asked Song Yanxiang for his opinion. If Song Yanxiang insisted on keeping the marriage contract, the Song family did not mind revealing a few hidden cards to put on a show. But in Song Yanxiang's view, none of that was necessary. He had never cared much for this marriage contract in the first place. So ending it directly was the easiest answer, and there was no need to expose the Song family's hidden cards either. If new ones were needed, he could simply make a few himself. As for who those new cards would be, he had already decided. Ajin, Aga, and Qingdai, the three people in this very room right now. He intended to push all three of them into heaven rank, and then send them under his orders to test just how hard Old Master Kong's wrists really were. And while Song Yong-shang was helping Ajin Aga and King Dai raise their cultivation, Song Yong-ki was outside the side hall, pressing himself against the door and trying to eavesdrop. But Song Yong-shang had already set up a high-level isolation array in the room, so he was certain Song Yong-ki could not hear a thing. Seeing him act like that, Song Yong-jin immediately grabbed his ear and told him to stop embarrassing himself. But right at that moment, two heaven-rank breakthrough surges of soul power burst out from inside the side hall. Everyone in the main hall felt it clearly. The two siblings at the doorway felt it most directly, especially since they had also been present when first uncle made his breakthrough before. Song Yong-shu looked at the shocked expressions on their faces and immediately realized that something was wrong. At that point, she was almost certain now that this cousin of hers had really become someone extraordinary. At the same time, once Song-shi felt that aura, her expressions turned a little strange, and fourth uncle beside her also asked with the same strange look whether she was all right. Could there be something going on between those two? At that moment, Song Yong-ki said excitedly to his sister that he knew Young Shang-ge still had a lot more good stuff on him. Then he told her about how Song Yong-shang had openly taken a pill and broken through to mid-stage Earth rank on the spot. He even said that from now on he was going to treat Song Yong-shang like a real older brother, and he even urged his cousin sister to do the same, because then his share of the pills would definitely be secured. After hearing that, Song Yong-jin fell silent and thought her first reaction was irritation. She was annoyed that Song Yong-shang, with that same reckless young master temper, had actually swallowed such a priceless pill, just to win face. If that pill had been sold instead, the Scarlet Luan army would not have had to worry about funding for a long time. But in the very next moment she suddenly realized what Song Yong-ki had just said. Song Yong-shang apparently still had many more pills in hand. That was when she truly lost her composure, watching the two siblings react so dramatically. Song Yong-shu also decided that later she would find a chance to test Song Yong-jin a little. If there was money to be made here, then she definitely wanted in. Just as everyone was gradually calming down, another powerful surge of soul power came from the side hall. And this time, the impact was even stronger than before. Even the wine pots on the banquet table were nearly shaken apart. That completely wiped out whatever presence and prestige Song Yong-jin still had left in the room. In such a short span of time, 3 people in the Song family had actually broken through to heaven rank, one after another. At this point, she truly wanted to know what secret was hidden inside that side hall. Meanwhile, Song Yong-shang, inside the side hall, was still complaining about the isolation array. Even though it had only been a temporary formation thrown together in a rush, the fact that it had failed after enduring just 3 heaven-rank breakthroughs was still a little unexpected. The old master, on the other hand, kept pretending to stay calm, but inwardly he was already shaken. He had never imagined that. Song Yong-shang's attainments in formations were no weaker than his skill in alchemy. Under normal circumstances, setting up a formation like that would cost a fortune. Standing nearby, Uncle Song Mu felt equally awkward. Song Yong-shang had casually pushed Ajin, Aga, and King Dai into heaven, rank with external help, making old hands like them, who had hidden their strength for years, look almost ridiculous by comparison. King Dai herself was also full of shock. To her, that kind of breakthrough speed felt like the opening of a whole new world. Still, helping King Dai break through had indeed taken more effort. Ajin and Aga had both already been at Earth rank peak, while King Dai was only at early stage Earth rank. That one round had actually cost Song Yong-shang a full 20th of his reserves. King Dai knew perfectly well that an opportunity like this could never come without a price, so she once again made her pledge to Song Yong-shang as a death-sworn retainer of the Song family. Her life and body already belonged to the family. From now on, she was willing to become the sword in Song Yong-shang's hand and cut down every enemy who came for him. Still, Song Yong-shang also knew that her natural talent had its limits. From here on, it would be better for her to cultivate steadily and step by step. At the moment, though, King Dai looked filthy enough to hurt the eyes, so Song Yong-shang had a sudden idea and directly used a purification array on her for a full, deep clean. Clean and proper, like that she finally looked. The way the head maid of the eastern courtyard of the Song residence was supposed to look. At the same time, Ajin and Aga had already stabilized their cultivation. Next, it was time to figure out how to flex a little in front of the Kong family. But after breaking into heaven rank, Ajin suddenly told them that the soul power inside his body seemed to be connecting to something in the sky. That immediately caught Song Yong-shang's attention. The kid could actually sense the existence of the star web. This meant his talent and spiritual perception was seriously high. Later on, getting him a mech built to enhance perception-type weapons would definitely be worth it. Before Ajin could wonder any further, the old master answered first, saying that it was the heavenly Tao. He was probably worried that Song Yong-shang might blurt out the truth about the star web. Still, heavenly Tao really was the common name. used across several continents since most Saint rank cultivators and a few Heaven rank ones could sense it. With everything basically ready, Aga immediately proposed that he and Ajin should just go, grab the Kong family's Heaven rank expert, and beat him up first. That was completely unnecessary. There was still no need to openly fall out with the Kong family. Song Yangshang's original idea was simply to let the three of them show some muscle and intimidate the Kong family. If the matter could be resolved in a mild and low-key way, that would be best. After hearing that, Ajin quickly suggested that the three of them change into the gate guard uniforms of the Song residence's eastern courtyard, greet the Kong family as honored guests, and casually flex a little in the process. The moment Song Yangshang saw how quickly the kid caught on, he knew Ajin had a bright future ahead. The old master also approved of the plan. The Song family had kept a low profile for more than 10 years. It really was time to show the outside world a little of what they could do if nobody dares test it. How would they know who really has the longer reach? Meanwhile, over at the landing platform in the outer courtyard of the Song residence, that bootlicker Song Yunrui was already standing there, with a group of people eagerly waiting for his manipulative goddess to arrive. But right at that critical moment, 3 crisp footsteps suddenly echoed through the air behind them. The sound scared Song Yunrui and the others badly, and when they turned around, they discovered that those Heaven rank experts were actually dressed in the uniforms of gate guards from the Song residence's eastern courtyard, Heaven rank gate guards. Personally, coming out to receive guests. What kind of situation was this? Not long before that, the Kong family was still on the way to the banquet. Inside, the flying vessel that grandfather and granddaughter pair kept trampling one side, while praising the other. They talked about Sun Xia like he was some once in an age treasure, while tearing Song Yangshang down, like he was nothing more than a worthless weed. Even City Lord Kong felt they were going too far. Sun Xia was still only a black rank right now. With that level of strength, he would not even qualify to serve as a guard in the City Lord's manor. But the old man shot back that he had sensed a faint, transcendent aura on Sun Xia, and that the boy might really become the host of the Star Soul General Xiao Rin in the future. That statement really did shock City Lord Kong. But since he himself was only Earth rank, he still did not dare fully trust his father's judgment. Seeing the doubt on his face, Old Master Kong stated firmly that with his Heaven rank spiritual senses, there was absolutely no way he could be mistaken. He had felt that same transcendent aura before on that person, so this could not be wrong. Even so, people could not make decisions based on feeling alone. As the Lord of Yangon City Kong fan still believed, there was no need to completely fall out with the Song family tonight. If Sun Xia was lying to them, there would be no turning back. The moment she heard her father questioning brother, Sun Xia Kong Xingxin, blew up on the spot in her heart. Brother Sun Xia would never deceive her. If anyone was lying, then it was Song Yangshang who used crooked tricks to pose as the host of the Star Soul General Zuo Si and fool everyone at that point. Old Master Kong stepped in to stir things up as well. He said that if Song Yangshang turned out to be the same worthless mess he used to be, then he would flip the table on the spot and cut ties without hesitation, which would also give him the perfect excuse to blow up. But if Song Yangshang really was the host of the Star Soul General Zuo Si, then they would have Kong Xinxin keep stringing him along on the surface, while they secretly nurtured Sun Xia and slowly moved against the Song family's assets from the shadows. The moment that plan was laid out, Kong fan agreed on the spot. In the end, the old fox had finally shown his real tail. Naturally, Kong Xinxin was not pleased to hear her grandfather say that. She kept quiet on the surface, but inwardly, she had already decided that she was going to cause real trouble at the Song family banquet tonight. If Song Yangshang had not known about their schemes, that would have been one thing, but now that he did know, there was no way he was going to let them run wild. Inside the Song family, meanwhile, over at the Song residence landing platform, Song Yunrui was shocked the moment he saw the head maid, Qingdai, appear. Qingdai calmly told young Master Yunrui that the three of them had come, under Song Yangshang's orders, to receive the Kong family's honored guests. But anyone with eyes could tell, they were not there to offer some warm welcome. Steward Song Shuai then reminded young Master Yunrui to pay attention to the cultivation of those three. Since the Eastern Courtyard had sent them here, there was definitely a deeper purpose behind it. Song Shuai also seemed to recognize Ajin and Ajia from somewhere in the Song residence, and he suspected the two of them might belong to the secret force the old marquis had been raising in the shadows. Song Yunrui had heard of the Song residence's shadow guards before, so he had already guessed that this was a real possibility. Still, he could not understand why the old marquis would send shadow guards to receive honored guests, just as he was still trying to work it out. The flying vessel carrying the Kong family landed on the platform, leaving him no chance to think further. And the moment he saw Kong Jingxin, he actually lowered his head on purpose and went forward with a fake, gentlemanly posture to greet her, nearly throwing the Song family's dignity straight into the trash. The truth was that the two of them had always been classmates in the Mecha Martial Academy Preparatory Division, but Kong Jingshin still acted as if she knew nothing, and deliberately asked what relation Song Yunrui had to Song Yongxiang. Song Yunrui then put on a disdainful look, and said that Song Yongxiang was just his cousin. He really had to put on that little act for no reason at all. As the daughter of a city lord, there was no way Kong Jingshin did not already know all this, yet she still pretended to be all harmless and innocent. Praising Song Yunrui for being such a fine and capable young master from a noble family, the moment his goddess praised him like that, Song Yunrui was practically floating, but in truth, Kong Jingshin had long since seen him for what he was. Just another horny fool lusting after her body. At that point, her father Kong Fan also stepped forward to greet Song Yunrui, and put on a fake smile, praising his handsome appearance and saying that he truly looked worthy of being the descendant of Song Bo, the Song family's business genius. After getting hit by that double blast of sugar-coated praise from the father and daughter, Song Yunrui had already forgotten his own last name. At this point, he was probably already daydreaming about marrying into the Kong family in the future. Even old Master Kong was getting tired of watching the little performance between the two of them and Song Yunrui. Had they not agreed they were coming here to tear things apart tonight? Why had it suddenly turned into an act? Still, the old man was no easy piece of work either. Seeing that nobody stepped forward to greet him first, he decided to use that excuse to release his heaven-rank aura and shake the whole place. The moment he let that aura spread, both Song Yunrui and Song Shuai found themselves struggling to withstand it, and the Kong father and daughter instantly understood what he was doing. Old Master Kong was clearly trying to use this chance to slap the Song family with an opening show of force. Too bad for him today, he was destined to kick a steel plate. As the saying goes, 2 fists cannot beat 4 hands, and Song Yangxiang had arranged not 4, but 6. In the blink of an eye, 3 more heaven-rank auras appeared on the scene, and they instantly blew apart Old Master Kong's aura. That left the city lord and his daughter completely stunned. Those 3 people who had looked so ordinary just moments ago had actually overpowered the Kong family's only heaven-rank expert. That was the last thing they had expected. Before they could recover, Qing Dai began introducing Ajin and Ajia, saying that just like her, they were merely ordinary gate guards and maids from the eastern courtyard of the Song residence, and that they had only come under Song Yangxiang's orders to welcome the honored guests of the Kong family. Hearing that, Old Master Kong was practically dumbfounded. He had never imagined that even the people guarding the gates of the Song residence would be heaven-rank experts. This was completely different from the intelligence he had. So now the question was, should they still break off the marriage or not? Meanwhile, while Qing Dai and the others went to receive Old Master Kong, Song Yangshu had already learned from her mother that Song Yangxiang had earth spirit pills in his possession. Madame Qing was still furious, cursing that little smart aleck, Yu Qi, for actually kneeling on the spot just for the sake of pills, throwing away all dignity. But Song Yangshu had long since seen through all that. Those 2 siblings from the northern courtyard still felt off to her. Soon after, she told her mother what she had in mind. The mother and daughter planned to work together later and secure this big deal for themselves. The only problem was that medicine-related business had always been handled by concubine Xiao. Madame Cheng had never been entirely happy about that. So if they really wanted to move on this deal, Song Yangshu and her mother would have to plan carefully first. Just then, the side hall doors opened, and Song Yongxiang, the old master, and Uncle Song Mu walked out together. The moment Song Yongxiang saw Song Yunjin and Yun Qi standing by the door, he understood at once. Both of them were earth-rank cultivators, so they had most likely sensed the breakthrough fluctuations from inside the side hall. Sure enough, the second Song Yongxiang came out. Yun Qi rushed right up to him and volunteered to be his personal test subject for pills, all while acting extremely respectful. But the strangest change of all was Song Yongxiu. She actually took the initiative to invite Song Yongxiang to sit in her father's seat. It seemed she had also heard about what had happened in the side hall. Not long after Song Yongxiang sat down, the gate guards came to report that the Kong family's flying vessel had landed, and that young Master Yun Rui, together with the Eastern Courtyard people, were already receiving them to make sure the Kong family had an unforgettable banquet tonight. The old Marquis had even prepared a special gift for them. Now, all that remained was to see whether the Kong family would like the display that the Song residents had arranged, and if it was not enough, there was always room to add a little more. At the outer courtyard landing platform, the Song residence's people were already lined up and waiting to receive the Kong family party. Kong Xingxin, whose cultivation was too low to understand what had just happened, still walked lightly toward the banquet hall, completely unaware. But the city lord was in a very different state. That clash of heaven-rank auras had completely shaken his confidence. At this point, forget continuing forward, he probably did not even have the nerve to turn back and retreat to the flying vessel. Old Master Kong was wavering now as well. In front of him stood 3 heaven-rank experts from the Song family, who were all absurdly young, and all three of them were still dressed like servants. The only conclusion he could come to was that the Song residents must be using some crooked trick to fool him. Otherwise, how could such young, heaven-rank cultivators possibly exist and still be willing to serve as subordinates in the Song family? Convinced that he had seen through the truth, he called Kong Fan to come with him and kept walking inside. He wanted to see with his own eyes what kind of trick the Song family was playing. But when they reached a corner, Old Master Kong suddenly grabbed Kong Fan and began whispering something to him. Right after that, Old Master Kong took out a gentleman's sword star, Soul General Talisman, and handed it to Kong Fan, telling him that if things went south later, he was to grab his granddaughter and run immediately. The moment Kong Fan took the talisman, he started worrying and asked his father what he was supposed to do if he gave the talisman away. But just as Old Master Kong said, he still had a spare, a figure suddenly appeared near the pavilion in the distance. The one who showed up was none other than Xiao Jie, the Eastern Courtyard's driver. If someone surnamed Kong really dared to cause trouble in the Song family, then they had better first ask whether one of the former 6 heroes of the black armor would allow it. The instant Shei Biji's aura locked onto him, Old Master Kong's right leg went weak on the spot, and he dropped straight to one knee. By the time he barely recovered, Shei Biji had already vanished without a trace. The only thing left behind was the cigarette butt he had been smoking. At that point, Old Master Kong could only let Kong Fan help him back up. Shei Biji's move had not done much actual damage, but the humiliation was absolutely brutal. After that little episode, the Kong family could only keep moving toward the banquet hall at a much slower pace. But after being struck like that, Old Master Kong's entire aura had visibly withered. He truly had not expected that beyond those 3 young heaven-rank experts. The Song family was still hiding even stronger monsters in the dark. And while he was still thinking about all of this, he suddenly felt another unfamiliar yet powerful aura lock onto him again, forcing him to turn and look in that direction. The sight nearly scared the life out of him. From the shadows at the alley entrance, the figure of a man, sitting in a wheelchair, slowly emerged. If Old Shei had already come out to play, then Old Ma was naturally not about to stay hidden. The Song family's anger was not something that could be settled so easily this time. Old Ma locked directly onto Old Master Kong's heart. If the man dared to covet the Song family's assets, then he could consider his heart fair game. The shock of that second hit was too much. The aging Old Master Kong coughed up blood on the spot after Kong Fan helped him back to his feet. He turned to look toward the alley once more, only to find that Old Ma had already disappeared like a ghost. In truth, Qing Di had been able to vaguely sense both of those incidents just now. She had already noticed something. While still back in the Eastern Courtyard, she had not expected the 2 of them to really make a move today. And on the distant tower song, Mu had also quietly appeared behind them. The old Marquis's order had originally only been for them to intimidate the Kong family, without making it obvious. But judging from the results, those 2 had been a little too heavy-handed. Old Ma, however, did not care in the slightest. In his words, the fact that he had not crushed their balls on the spot was already him showing enough respect to the court. At the same time, Old Master Kong was furious. The Song family had secretly hidden this many experts, and once he got back, he was determined to report to the court that the Song family was harboring rebellious intent and even tried to pin a charge of treason on them. But in the very next moment, he nearly broke down. If the Song family was willing to show this much power tonight, did that mean they had no intention of letting the Kong family leave alive? Was the Kong family really about to be finished here today? After being bullied and trounced by Old Xia and Old Ma, Old Master Kong could barely even walk properly now. That was what he got for becoming arrogant the moment he broke into heaven rank. Tonight's Hongmen banquet at the Song residence was not somewhere just anyone could walk out of safely. He probably knew he could not just sit there and wait for death. So he quietly took out the 3-star strength pill from the pouch in his sleeve, the same one Song Yangshan had once provided for the Hong Clan Merchant Guild to sell. After learning that the Song residence had this many hidden experts, he no longer believed he could get his son and granddaughter out alive with him. So the only thing he could do now was swallow the pill himself first, then construct a mech, and flee through the air to save his own life. But just as he was about to swallow it, Song Mu flashed behind him in a single step and instantly released mid-stage heaven rank pressure, locking him in place so hard that the pill slipped straight from Old Master Kong's hand and fell to the ground. That truly scared Old Master Kong out of his wits, because the strength Song Mu had just shown was even greater than that of Old Xia and Old Ma. Since entering the Song residence, he had already encountered 6 people who were either at his level or even stronger. It was easy to imagine just how badly his mental state had collapsed by now. Meanwhile, Qing Di, who was leading the way, had already entered the banquet hall and announced that the honored guest from the Kong family had arrived. Hearing that Old Master Song Jing Song actually put on a serious face, said they should hurry up and bring out the Suona players to welcome the Kong family guests. The moment Qing Di heard that order, she was completely dumbfounded. Playing Suona at a family banquet. Was this supposed to be dinner, or had it suddenly turned into a funeral send-off? Fortunately, the old master quickly added that he was joking. Otherwise, with the efficiency of the shadow guards, some mountain outside the city might already have gained a few fresh pits. After that, Kong Xingxin entered the banquet hall first, as the Kong family's vanguard, stepping in ahead of the others and greeting all the elders. Close behind her came her father, Kong Fan, who bowed respectfully to the old master and then offered his greetings to the ladies of the Song family present. No matter what, the Kong family still belonged to the court now, so at least on the surface, the Song residents could not afford to be careless with etiquette. After both sides exchanged greetings, the old marquis asked why Old Master Kong had not come in with them. At that moment, Old Master Kong, still outside and shaken badly by everything that had happened, had finally managed to recover a little, and was preparing to walk quickly into the banquet hall to meet the old marquis. Seeing his father acting so strangely, Kong Fan immediately suspected that with his heaven-ranked spiritual senses, his father must have noticed something unusual, hidden within the Song residence. While Kong Fan was still lost in thought, Old Master Kong had already stepped into the banquet hall with both feet. The moment he came in, the old marquis immediately locked onto him, with peak heaven-ranked pressure. The instant that pressure fell on him, Old Master Kong froze in place. An early-stage heaven rank being targeted by a peak heaven rank might as well be one step away from instant death. So he did not dare make a single unnecessary move, but at that exact moment, his useless legs knocked into each other. And with a loud thud, Old Master Kong actually dropped right at the entrance of the banquet hall, like he was bowing everyone a New Year greeting. Seeing that even Kong Xingxin was stunned, from the outer courtyard all the way here, her grandfather had already embarrassed himself several times. If he kept going like this, how was he supposed to wrestle with the Song family? Later, Song Yangshang naturally took the chance to tease them. The Kong family may have arrived just a little late, but for Old Master Kong to punish himself like this was really unnecessary. The moment he said that, the entire third generation of the Song family burst into laughter. To ease the humiliation, Old Master Kong could only force himself to say that he had simply been too excited to see the old marquis, and accidentally tripped. Seeing that the old marquis's anger faded by half, and he even gave Song Yangshang a thumbs up. In truth, the old man had tripped because Song Yangshang had already set a formation at the entrance, as thin as a thread. Song Yangshang shot the old marquis a look in return. The old man had made a move too just now, so there was no way Song Yangshang was carrying all the blame alone. The warning had already been delivered, and the Kong family probably would not dare stir up trouble tonight, so Song Yangshang immediately gave the order for the maids to begin serving dishes and pouring wine. After being played with like that in secret, the two leading figures of the Kong family now looked like they were sitting on needles. But Kong Xingxin, that manipulative schemer, clearly did not see it that way. Had they not agreed they were coming tonight to break off the engagement forcefully, so why were the two elders of her family now sitting there obediently and eating? She had no intention of letting the plan collapse like this, so as soon as the dishes were served, she stood up at once, ready to state the true purpose of their visit. But before she could finish a sentence, her grandfather barked at her to shut up. Old Master Kong had no desire at all to die here tonight. Sensing that things were off, Kong Fan also hurried to tell his daughter to listen to her grandfather first, sit down, eat, and wait to see how things developed. After finally controlling his granddaughter, the Kong family immediately apologized to the old marquis and asked him not to take offense. After that, nobody at the table dared mention the broken engagement again, and the atmosphere instead became strangely harmonious. But in Kong Xingxin's heart, she had no intention of letting it end there. She and Sunjia had already crossed the line, so this engagement had to be broken no matter what. Since she could not speak openly now, she decided to shift her attention onto that bootlicker, Song Yunrei. Just then, the communicator on Song Yangshang's hand suddenly lit up with an incoming call. After briefly informing everyone, Song Yangshang got up, went to the side hall, and answered it. The call was from shopkeeper Hong of the Hong Clan Merchant Guild. There had been progress on the ingredients Song Yangshang asked them to source. Out of the 4 medicines they could currently secure, 3. The problem was the main ingredient called the boundless flower. It was extremely rare on the market, and the only lead they had was that the Mi clan in Sand Sculpture City of the Lower Domain Nation had one. Without it, the medicine needed for third-grade uncle could not be made. While Song Yangshang was on the call, Kong Xingxin also took the chance to go chat with Song Yunrui. The moment she opened her mouth, she started praising Song Yunrui as the most outstanding young man she had ever met, then used the old marquis's favoritism towards Song Yangshang to stir things up between them. While they were talking, Old Master Kong was busy raising a toast to the old marquis. After everything that had happened tonight, the only thing on his mind now was that Kong Xingxin had better not make any more trouble. He still wanted to enjoy a few more years of life. Meanwhile, Song Yangshang stayed focused on the call in the side hall. Based on the information shopkeeper Hong gave him, it looked like he really needed to make a trip to Sand Sculpture City, in the Lower Domain Nation himself. That place sat on the eastern border of the Lower Domain Nation and was surrounded by the Death Desert. It was an important military stronghold used to defend against ferocious beasts and suppress the Demon King. As the Lower Domain Nation rapidly expanded into the eastern desert, in recent years more and more people had gathered there. The city had existed for less than a century, yet it had already undergone several expansions. And within its towering walls, 4 major districts had gradually taken shape. The powerful families lived in the heavily protected inner district, enjoying decadent and luxurious lives. The Western District housed over 90% of Sand Sculpture City's military power, so it was also known as the city's strongest defensive zone. The Middle District, built around the Inner District, served as the city's commercial center, where almost every kind of service and entertainment could be found. As for the outermost district, it was home to the poor, the servants, and the fallen drifters, which was why most people simply called it the slums. The Mai clan, which held that boundless flower, was based in Sand Sculpture City, Western District. They belonged to the expansionist faction of the Mulu clan in the Lower Domain Nation and controlled more than 60% of the Western District. Military forces. If it had been the neutral faction or the moderate faction, instead, the Hong Clan Merchant Guild might still have had some room to negotiate, but the expansionists had always been hostile toward Tindu Nation merchants, which made this much harder. Aside from the boundless flower, the rest of the ingredients could probably be delivered to the Song residents in about 10 days. However, the Samlin clan, which controlled those ingredients, did not accept money. They only wanted to trade for ferocious beast materials. Hearing that, Song Yangxiang was annoyed. Those people really knew how to calculate things in their own favor. Still, this worked out in a way. Song Yangxiang already needed real combat to stabilize his Earth rank cultivation, and he also needed to search the Death Desert for the Star-Lord's secret realm so he could personally gather the beast materials himself. Hearing that, shopkeeper Hong was finally relieved. Even so, he still reminded Song Yangxiang that the Mai clan of Sand Sculpture City was powerful, and he should not do anything too risky. Once shopkeeper Hong said that Song Yangxiang suddenly thought of 2 key people. With luck, those 2 might actually be able to help on this trip. At the same time, Song Yongshu finally could not stand it anymore, watching the 2 of them gossip so openly about the Song residents. She stepped in to shut it down. She already knew Kong Jingshin had bad intentions, so she warned her directly not to stir up trouble inside the Song residence, or the consequences would be ugly. The moment she heard that warning, Kong Jingshin instantly switched back to her fake innocent act and said she truly admired Song Yongshu's cousin, and that everything she had said before was meant as praise. But Song Yongshu had already seen right through her. She knew this woman was trying to use her idiot brother as a weapon, so she bluntly warned her back. Unless she wanted to see a young woman's corpse making the news tomorrow, she had better stop doing stupid things. After hearing that, Kong Jingshin dropped the innocent act altogether. She flatly said that with a single word from her, she could get Yangon City Tax Office to help Song Yongshu handle the Song family investment business. She was clearly picking a fight, and yet that blockhead actually turned around and told Song Yongshu that Kong Jingshin could definitely help their family business. That stupid line nearly made Song Yongshu pass out on the spot. It was not just Song Yongshu. Even Song Yongjin and Song Yonghee at the next table were left speechless. Nobody with a brain should have said something that traitorous while they were all busy watching each other make fools of themselves. Song Yangxiang had already finished his call and walked back out from the side hall. The moment she saw him return, Kong Jingshin unexpectedly took the initiative to greet him. The second Song Yangxiang saw that look on her face. He knew something was off. He just did not know what exactly she had been up to a moment ago. Even the 2 Kong elders found it strange. Had their granddaughter not always hated Song Yangxiang? Why was she suddenly acting so warm today? All they could do was hope she was not pulling some new trick to play along with her act. Song Yangxiang deliberately went with it and chatted with her as if the 2 of them were getting along extremely well. But Song Yunrui, who had just been flattered into the clouds by Kong Jingshin, could no longer stand it. In his mind, Song Yangxiang was still the same shameless playboy from back then. After a few provoking words from Kong Jingshin, he finally snapped. Tonight, he absolutely wanted Song Yangxiang to embarrass himself in front of his goddess. So this peak black rank brat actually challenged Song Yangxiang in public and declared that they should decide who would marry Kong Jingshin through a duel between Star Soul generals. He had barely finished speaking when Song Yongqi sent him flying with a kick that even stunned Song Yangxiang. For a moment, he really had not expected the one to step in would be Song Yongqi. It looked like the kid was truly going all in for those Earth Spirit pills. Seeing Song Yongqi actually stand on his side, this time Song Yangxiang was a little surprised himself. It was rare for the kid to act properly for once. Maybe this mess really could be left for him to handle later. Song Yong-rui knew perfectly well that he was no match for Song Yong-chi, but under Kong Jingxin's constant baiting, he still could not hold back. Today, he absolutely had to make Song Yangxiang lose face. So, in the next moment, he turned to Song Yangxiang again and suggested that, since they had not seen each other in a while, they should use a Star Soul General spar to add some entertainment.